To my experience, speaking about the balance between equipment and computers, you know, the thing has been that there has been a great focus on equipment and eventually a minor focus on the system, the managing system. Yeah. But it seems like things are changing a bit.
Yeah, you can see more focus on the computerized system and the software in itself. But still, I believe, or still I see, in some cases when I'm out doing audits, I see companies sort of not really separating the software from the hardware. Yeah. So they just look at everything as the hardware. And when you really, if you try to ask questions about how did you really address software vulnerabilities, and how did you test that, or what did you do? How did you evaluate your supplier, the developer of the software? Yes. Sort of, I don't think we are really there, but we are getting closer.
So you think that eventually there will be a kind of change in the focus, there will be a greater focus on the operating system, the computer system?
Yeah, at least making sure that the application that you have on that you use for whatever it is, either for the machinery or equipment in your company, or if it's some quality system application, but that you really make sure that you address the software in itself and not only the functionality of the machine at the end. Because everything is getting more and more complex, and bad software developed in a rush or in a hurry, and not really with the user in focus, may cause some problems with the user application.
And that's definitely an issue, because if you look into surrounding systems surrounding production, you see standard systems used by millions that eventually do not need the same kind of test and qualification as the one running production. Yes. So where you have, typically you have some modified software that will run this, and you need to make sure that this sort of, you know, performs as it was intended to do. Exactly. In the first place.
Yes, and that you really understand, are there any risks to your process and your use of that software that wasn't really addressed by the more general use that the software was originally developed for, because the original developer perhaps didn't think at all about this fairly minor. The pharmaceutical market is not a huge buyer compared to all other industries, so we are not really the main focus.
Do you think that will change within the coming years? Because I agree that sort of you see a tendency towards a rather conservative industry now switching towards more IT and automated based production, where again you see a change in validation principle, because now we go from equipment to computer system instead.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that it's been that way for some time now, but what I see is that IT and QA are getting closer. Yes. 10 years ago, it was sort of, when I had trainings and taught about software validation, and that was very, some organizations were provoked by that. Yes. Requirements, even though it's not a new requirement, it's been around for ages. Yes. But it's sort of, it's been quite a distance between the QA organization and the IT organization, and the IT and the computer guys or girls, they have been sort of not talking that much to each other. So the IT specialists, they didn't really know about GMP requirements. They did a lot of testing, but they didn't know about the GMP requirements. And so they perhaps didn't document things. And the QA were sometimes a bit unfamiliar with the IT terminology. Yes. So, but I think that we are getting a bit closer and we are bridging the gap. So QA organizations, QA people start to get more familiar and not so, they don't feel intimidated any longer when they talk to IT,
No,
and vice versa.
I agree, because actually you do see QA specialists having an IT background, working especially with IT and automated systems.
Yes.
So they know what to investigate.
And that didn't happen 10 years ago. We didn't have any person in QA with an IT background, but now I see that, and then I see slowly a slightly change, that we're getting more attention within the company on how we really validate those applications.
Yes.